Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Originals. A very good episode with some very interesting developments that went down. Obviously, one, we saw the ramifications of Elijah dying because the rest of his sire line, I keep doing that. I restarted recording and I'm still messing up on that. His sire line have died out, which is like, it didn't even cross my mind last episode for that to even be a thing, which is like crazy considering the fact is that's like a majority of season 3 storyline is the whole like, oh, let's cut ourselves away from the originals. That way we can kill them and get rid of them without the rest of us dying along with them. But I guess like no one of importance really died because, I mean, considering the fact is the top wigs, the most important people from Elijah's sire line were the Strix, and they all got wiped out last season. So I am curious to see, will this kind of affect any outworld stuff like him dying, since all of his sire line has died, what does that mean going forward for everyone else? Like, is there any power struggles going out anywhere else, like in the world, now that it's kind of been thrown out of balance because the fact is that Elijah's sire line is dead? So, I mean, eventually, word is going to have to spread about Elijah being dead, just like word spread about Klaus being in his situation this season. But I guess, like, I'm sure the originals are going to keep that hush-hush. I don't know if everyone knows that Elijah is dead, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. But obviously, a big part of this episode was about Freya using a spell. She puts, basically, at first she does it herself, but she can't quite go inside of Elijah's, like, fractured mind as well as activate the spell. So she needs Hope's help, and she needs Haley to go inside to do it herself, because it's like, out of anyone, I know Elijah the best. Basically, it's like giant hallways with different doors leading to different memories. A few we've seen throughout the series. Some not so much, but it's so interesting because it's like Haley was hoping on everything that the memory that would be tied to Elijah, that he'd be hiding in, that his essence, his consciousness would be a good memory. Turns out not to be one. It's one he brutally murdered a lot of people. Most of the memories we saw in this episode are actually, like, 3 of the 5 we saw were, I mean, 2 of them kind of count. One was just Haley kind of kicking ass from earlier this season, and then the other one was like from the past, where it's like, yeah, there's bodies around and everything, but it's them celebrated as a family. It's like, oh, this is a good moment. It's like, I'm sure that would have been a moment, like Freya would have been like, oh, this is such a beautiful moment. My family not squabbling, just enjoying each other's company and everything. It's kind of what the whole like toast was about and everything. But it's like, no, the memory he's inside, it's like a massacre, to the point it even scared Haley. And I figured that was going to be the case because this is one of those situations that shows you, like, the rest of the family are monsters. They've done some very monstrous things, but it's like, it's situations like this that bring up what Marcel said before, and even what Vincent said before, that, like, Elijah keeps up this appearance of being the very dignified one of the members, a member of the family, but it's like, he is probably more monstrous than some. Like, on some levels, he can be just as relentless as Klaus is when it comes to, like, killing people and stuff like that, being just as vicious. So that nature is inside of him, to the point it legitimately scares Haley, to the point like Elijah's trying to talk to her, like he's becoming himself again, but she's actually scared of him, and it still racks her mind even when she comes back and everything. And that's to be understood, because like she knew, like, the Michaelsons have their dark past. She knows that they've done a lot of stuff, but to see it like that, to see Elijah like that, covered in blood, willing, like, the fact of the matter is he was about to attack her. He would have killed her if Hope hadn't been where she was. Like, Hope was able to, I guess, use her powers to kind of speak to him, or maybe hearing Hope's voice, because I guess for everything that Hope represents, for one, she's his niece, but at the same time, she's like redemption for his brother. Like, she's kind of like the shining light to that family. It was like in a family of darkness, she represents the light. But, it scared Haley. And, like, the question is, will she ever be able to look at Elijah the same way again? And, like, he kind of sees the look in his eye when he sees how terrified she is. And he's like, can you forgive me? And it's like, I don't know. It's hard because it's like, yeah, like, because she's always known Elijah in one way. She's never really delved too deeply into, like, And even then, that was only a fraction of it. Who's else to say what other darkness is hiding in there? Which is like, and it's something Klaus himself comments on, is like, the fact of the matter is, we've all done monstrous things. There's darkness in all of us. But what makes Elijah the best of us is the fact is that everything he's done, every monstrous thing he's ever done, has been for family. And that's what makes him better than any of us. Because even Klaus had this whole speech early in the episode. He's like talking to Elijah's body and everything. He's like, the fact of the matter is, you're my best friend. You've been such a great friend, a confidant, a rival, and sometimes you've been a pain in the ass. But it's like, even through that all, like, I love you. And that's actually kind of causes some tension, obviously, when Rebecca and Cole come back to town. For Rebecca, it's like Klaus is kind of slipping back into his old persona of being like, oh, screw everything. Like, the fact of the matter is, your feelings with Marcella and everything are getting in the way because we need to collect all these thorns. Marcel's doing that too. And the fact is, he wants one of the thorns. It's like, you really want to give it to one of him. And you're trying to talk to him on an emotional level. It's like your feelings for him are getting in the way. You're putting your feelings for him above your own family and everything, which she's like, no, I'm not. But Klaus is just in his mindset of just like, because he's hurting right now. And for her, she's like, yeah, I know, you're just lashing out. Go ahead and go back to being that person. Because he's like, what I'm going to do next is fine. If I have to, I'll go out on my own. I'll kill everyone that needs to be dealt with. And then I will bring a lot, like, I will even do it to Marcel if I need to. And she's like, go ahead and become that evil person that you are. And then, like, undo all the good that Elijah's ever tried to do with you. Try to, basically his death being in vain. Like, what would Elijah have died for if you're just going to go back and regress and be the Klaus that everyone feared and hated? And you see it kind of hit him because it's like, I mean, it's understandable. It's like the person he's relied on, no matter how many times he's ever daggered Elijah, it's like, that's still his brother. And it's like, if you've been there, you've been for me, you've been my guiding hand, you've been my mentor. And it's like, you've been so, like, Elijah's always been the one there to keep Klaus balanced, and it's like, he's kind of off kilter without him. And obviously, like, everything Marcel is doing is all for Sophia and stuff like that. What I thought was kind of interesting is the reason why he didn't tell them initially. And immediately, I guess my mind goes, obviously, to last episode where it's like, Klaus was like, well, why don't we just kill everyone, including Sophia? It's like, oh, that's how we deal with the Hollow, which, Marcel brought up the fact that I'm not going to lose another person I care about to the Michelson family. It's like, he already lost Davina to that situation. And I guess, arguably, he lost Cammy to that same situation too, because of, like, she got caught up with the Michelsons and everything, and it put a target on her back and everything. So that's, and it's not even just them. There's a lot of people that have died because of the Michelsons' drama and everything that they're connected to. So I guess for him also, because hearing Klaus say that makes him go like, well, the fact of the matter is, obviously she's important to me. Obviously that won't mean anything to Klaus. But it's like, I can see that argument, but at the same time, you got to remember, like, Klaus understands what it means to do whatever it takes to protect someone you love. He does it on a regular basis. He's doing it right now for his brother. But let's not forget, the same situation happened with Cammy. He knows what it's like to protect the person that you're in love with. Everything you're doing is for love. And even Rebecca understands. That's why she gave him the thorn, because she was like, the fact of the matter is, like, there's once upon a time you would have done anything you could for me. It's like, he's doing this for love, Klaus, so don't stop him. But it's like, but for Marcel, his whole situation is just like, I'm sure the whole Sophia situation, like what Klaus said, plus the fact of the matter is he's not 100% trusting on the Michelsons after everything that's going down. It's like, it's a very shaky alliance. I mean, he even had someone like Josh is like his closest confidant. Even Rebecca is saying, like, you need to put your stuff aside and work together. We're dealing with the Hollow here and not being so caught up in your mess and everything. So, but obviously we do have Elijah's soul, and the necklace, the stone back in place, and obviously Elijah's soul is in there. But it's like, they can't get him another body. It's like, they need to put him back in his original body. So I guess maybe on some level, Rebecca was kind of hoping that this meant, like, he wouldn't have to be a vampire anymore. I mean, because she had an opportunity, her and Cole found out what it was like to be non-vampires. And I guess, I mean, for Cole, it kind of worked out for the best, because it's like being a vampire again kind of brought that bloodlust back to him, because he kind of has a tendency to be, like, he's arguably kind of the most vicious of his family too. It's like, it's kind of a three-way tie between him, Klaus, and Elijah. Elijah kind of keeps his side a little more tamed, but as we've seen this season, like, it's crept out a lot more than I'm sure he or anyone else would like it to. But but also for Rebecca because she didn't have to be bound to like that curse of being a vampire anymore. Sadly, that didn't stick around, as we obviously know. So I guess she was kind of hoping maybe Elijah would get that chance to maybe escape some of that darkness associated with him. But it's like, nope, his body's the only way. But the only way to put him back in his body is they need a sacrifice of great power. It's like, oh, obviously it's the Hollow. Yeah, but is there even a way to kill the Hollow? Because the fact of the matter is, even Marcel himself, being as powerful as he is, someone who can easily outmatch the originals, even he couldn't hurt her because, like, he starts biting her and she's fainting, like, oh my god, this hurt. Okay, I'm just kidding. And it ends up, like, her blood is poisonous to him. He starts spitting out, like, black gunk because of it's like her blood's almost acidic. I guess mainly because of, like, I guess the magic running through her veins is so powerful, it's overwhelming the magic that exists to make him what he is. Whatever the case may be, she kind of like almost does like an echoing scream and it knocks him back like it's nothing. That's like he's well outmatched. And to the point he's like, honestly, at the end of this all, I'm going to have to work together with the Michaelsons. Like we all are going to have to come together to make sure we stop this thing. Like no one can handle this on their own. But at the same time, Freya's like, yeah, if we can't kill the Hollow, we'll have to sacrifice Marcel. Because she's like, at the end of the day, it's like, that's the only choice, Rebecca. And it's like, for me, it's an easy choice. My brother or Marcel, my brother in a heartbeat, you know? So, I mean, and like I said, that's a good, and that's to me a very good, like, storyline for this season too. It's like, obviously, like, the ramifications of, like, always putting family first versus, like, putting love first. Because obviously Rebecca's not going to be all for sacrificing Marcel because it's like, no matter what the differences are, like there is still something there she feels for Marcel. Probably something the same thing for Marcel, how he feels about Rebecca, but those feelings are still there. And obviously, once again, like the whole theme of like, hey, don't do whatever it takes just to protect our family. We got to make sure not just to put our family first. That's kind of something Haley was telling Elijah. But what did Elijah do? He went off and killed all of those Harvest girls, you know, get connected to the ancestors again. I mean, thanks to that, like the Harvest girls are super pissed at Cole because they're like, oh, middle finger to you because like your brother's the one that killed us. Like we'd help out the Michaelsons, even though he brought them all these dark objects and stuff. He's like, please, I just want to talk to Davina, which you're like, we'll make sure that you never get to talk to her again. Which is like, you can understand like their spitefulness. It's like, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, this isn't necessarily the time to be so against each other. I mean, granted, their willingness to do it to like let Klaus and Haley talk to her is more so like, oh, well, this way we can, you know, because they probably, you know, not probably, they definitely knew ahead of time what Davina was going to do, sacrificing Klaus, so they were fine with it. But now that they kind of didn't get their way, it's just, they're just, like I said, they don't care about the Michelson family. I mean, and it's not just them, like a lot of people have that mentality right now, Marcel included, so it's like, but it's not the time because it's like, even if you don't like the Michaelsons, the fact of the matter is the Hollow is here. The fact is she's killed all like her followers, well, a lot of her followers. It's like, well, what's the, like, you know, they've done so much for you and now you're sacrificing them. It's like, oh yeah, but their deaths won't be in vain. I wonder what she's doing. Either she's sacrificing a lot of people for a powerful spell, or maybe she's kind of drawing, like with every person she kills, she draws in some of their magic, making herself even more powerful. Could be either or. I mean, it might be a combination of two, sacrificing a lot of people so she can build up power to cast a powerful spell. Like, because obviously, once again, the whole name of being the Hollow, kind of an endless hunger. So it's like she's always going to be wanting more and more power. So things definitely take an interesting turn when you have her like bringing Davina back to life, but she binds Davina's life to her own. It's like, for one, what does that mean going forward for the ancestors? Because she was like kind of like the focal point for the ancestors and also for the Harvest girls. Like they made the whole point of like, oh, Cole, you'll never see her, but it's now that Davina's alive again. But it's like they can't do anything about it because it's like now Cole has to serve her, because even though like his family as well as everyone wants the Hollow dead, but Davina is tied to it. And it kind of it's kind of a repeat of last season too, because it's like, are you willing to sacrifice Davina for possibly greater good? Before it was like, oh, sacrifice Davina in a heartbeat to make sure that my family doesn't die, you know, fighting Lucian. Now it's like sacrifice Davina, like her death, to make sure that the Hollow doesn't exist. But it's like Cole's in a very tough position in a situation because there's his family, but he loves his family. He's always there for them. But at the same time, it's like when it comes to Davina, it's like she comes first, because outside of his family, that's the first bit of love he's ever had. Just much as like Rebecca has her feelings for Marcel, you have Cole having just as much feelings for like Davina. So it's like it's definitely going to get complicated going forward because obviously the entire family is going to be like, no, 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 no. We need to kill her for the greater good. But he's like, I'm not going to sacrifice Davina. I have her back again, and I'm not going to let you guys be the one to take her away from me again. So now it's going to be a house divided. Also, I mean, including the fact is Marcel. He obviously cares about Davina, but it's like, because at the end of the day, it's something Josh ended up saying in this episode. No matter what it is, whether it's the Hollow or whether it's the Michaelsons, he has always believed in Marcel, and he will continue to believe in Marcel, that Marcel will kind of do what's right for everybody. And it's like, because obviously he told it to Davina too. It's like, put your trust in me one more time, D. And it's like, I don't know, like where this all gonna, like where all this fallout's gonna end up. Like, you come together just to become divided again. It's like, because it makes you wonder, why would she go through that so much trouble? It's like, being as powerful as you are, that, I mean, obviously she's still afraid of the Michelson family. I mean, more specifically, Haley and Hope, because they can still be used against her. But it's like, now she has a personal guard dog, Cole. So, I mean, that'd be the question too. Like, for Cole too, like, how far are you willing to go to protect Davina? Would you even turn against your own niece? Because ultimately, the Hollow's going to want her and Haley dead. Would you be willing to kill, you know, the mother of your niece for the sake of protecting the woman that you love? It's, like I said, it's a very complicated situation. I mean, because now it's really turning into a question of like, how much are you really willing to give up for the sake of family? Are you willing to cast away your love and your happiness for it? And also, like almost completely forgetting, like, what about Vincent? What's his side in all this? And let's not forget, Vincent is also got the book again, and it's like, what does that mean? I'm sure that's him getting the book back. That's only him playing right into the Hollow's hands. I'm sure he's going to try and attack her with whatever it is, spells that he's working on, but she's going to be like, oh my God, I knew you were going to do it. I knew you would never be able to, like, resist my power for too much longer. So now you kind of foolishly fallen into my trap, and now you're right where I want you to be. By my side, you'll be one of my kind of apostles. They'll kind of help me rein in my power or something like that. Like I said, a very good episode, but also, like, it just leaves... It's not going to be easy going forward for anybody in this situation, because everyone's got a little skin in this game and trying to... There's no easy and good way around this so far. I mean, hopefully when it's all said and done, everyone can walk away happy, but it's definitely, when it comes to the show, like, there's always sacrifices that need to be made, and it's not something that everyone gets to walk away happy from. Also, I'm curious to find out if Sophia will actually be okay, because the fact of the matter is, like, obviously the thorn got taken to him, but it's like, you know, and it's something that I think Josh ended up bringing up in the episode too. It's like, yeah, but Vincent's kind of got different priorities. It's all about stopping the Hollow right now. So, I mean, but to be fair, it's like, once again, that all is determined by whether or not Vincent's really pushed to a corner with this whole situation. We saw what happened when he kind of dabbled in his magic before. It's like, obviously he's doing it now because it's the only way to stop the Hollow, but it's like, who's to say how far of a line he's willing to cross, you know? Whether or not he'll get swept up in all of this. But all of that, we will just have to wait until the next episode to see how things play out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.